One of the great things about Extension in Oklahoma, they take the state specialists and send them out across the state. And you may have seen Derrell Peel in your county, and if you haven't yet, he probably will be there soon. And Derrell, as you've been driving across the state, you've had the opportunity to see a lot of wheat pasture. How's it looking out there?
Well, you know, the wheat pasture conditions deteriorated pretty rapidly in January. It's just been so dry in the month of January. So even though we put more cattle out last fall, and it was, you know, in terms of conditions last fall, the best wheat pasture grazing season we've had in a while, I think we've already moved a lot of those cattle off of wheat. Certainly we're approaching the time now when for dual purpose wheat, we're going to have to be pulling those cattle. And so producers are watching for that first hollow stem and making those decisions about marketing cattle right away.
Okay, some of the attitudes behind us, they're a little sketchy, but how's the attitudes of cattle producers across Oklahoma?
Well, producers are pretty excited about the situation we have right now. You know, obviously we've got essentially record high prices for all cattle and beef right now. There's lots of opportunity. We're poised to rebuild or begin rebuilding the cattle herd. The numbers for Oklahoma were up on January 1, and so really the only factor now that really is very much a question mark, and that is the moisture conditions as we go into the spring. The next 90 or so days are going to be pretty critical in terms of setting up our forage conditions for the spring and summer.
So actually we could be paying the price for the weather once again.
Yeah, you know, we've basically postponed our forecast of beginning herd rebuilding for the past 3 years now because of drought, and we're vulnerable to that again. Conditions were better in the last part of 2013. You know, we've got potential to move beyond this, but on the other hand, we're still vulnerable to going back into drought conditions.
Okay, quickly, what are we hearing across the country?
Well, again, these markets have, you know, recovered and bounced out of the first of the year at very high levels. You know, most of that was in the fed cattle and wholesale beef markets. They're settling back down to somewhat more realistic levels after spiking up to some extremely high prices briefly. Feeder cattle markets were pretty quiet for a couple of weeks through a lot of the storms and cold weather, but they're kicking off now, and again, the reality is we have relatively few numbers, and prices are high and look to go higher yet.
And of course, if we do start rebuilding the herd, 2 years, right?
A minimum of 2 years before we really see much change. The actual rebuilding process probably takes longer than that. I think we're probably looking at, you know, 4 to 6 years of potential expansion if weather conditions permit.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for weathering the wind with us out here. Derrell Peel, Livestock Marketing Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.